The U.S. is seeing even more enemies, as well as Israel is also in the Middle East. As the Israel Hamas Gaza War grows increasingly disturbing and complex, now the Yemen's Houthi army emerges as a major threat to Israel and the U.S. These were the rockets, missiles, and drone attacks that were shot down by the U.S. ship in that canal several days ago. We're starting to learn more about them and how they could be a major threat here. And once again, they are backed by Iran. Yemen's Iran backed Houthi army is emerging as a unique threat to Israel as well and America's interests, despite being nearly 1,400 miles away from the Israel Hamas war. And yet again, you can see multiple different terrorist groups and multiple different countries getting into the fray. A U.S. senior defense official said, quote, "Let's be clear that Iran has been increasing the sophistication and lethality of equipment that has been provided to the Houthis for years. Quote, we see demonstrated a pattern of continuing to aid the Houthis, and the Houthis just presented to us some of their capabilities that pose a threat to the region. Their geographical position makes it a particular threat to the global commerce and energy shipments. Yemen sits astride the Bab el-Mandeb Strait that serves as a choke point for ships entering the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. They are also in range of the Persian Gulf, through which as much as 30% of the world's oil passes. They have also displayed in recent years a willingness to strike major commercial targets, particularly in its war against Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. In 2019, drone attack on a Saudi oil refinery in eastern Saudi Arabia, a 2021 strike on the UAE commercial center, and attacks on commercial ships transitioning through the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. So you could see they're not afraid to attack, and they have already done at least one so far that we know of here that was intercepted by U.S. ships, and we'll probably see more. White House calls Iran complicit in conflict. Biden says aid isn't getting into Gaza fast enough, and this aid is probably getting absorbed by Hamas, and only the leftovers are probably getting sent to the people. Take that into consideration. Israel has rejected the calls for a ceasefire in Gaza at a major United Nations meeting, and basically saying that, if they stop now, what's going to prevent Hamas, the Houthis, and these other groups from firing on them again if they don't eradicate them now? You can let me know your thoughts on this here in the comments. Take a listen to Professor Sephiroth here, who is in an interesting position here and has very interesting point of views.
Directly blaming Iran for aiding Hamas before the war, offering training, money, and weapons. The IDF says Tehran also ordered recent attacks in Yemen, Iraq, and Lebanon. And with Iran sending more threats to the West, the White House promises it will respond. Listen.
The United States does not seek conflict with Iran. We do not want this war to widen. But if Iran or its proxies attack U.S. personnel anywhere, make no mistake, we will defend our people, we will defend our security swiftly and decisively.
American troops stationed on the U.S. bases in the Middle East have been attacked 14 times since the war started, at least 24 hurt in those attacks. Dr. Ramesh Sephiroth is the advisory board chair of the Organization of Iranian American Communities, and she joins me now. Doctor, thanks so much for being here. My problem with Blinken's statement is as follows. U.S. personnel have been attacked, yet there has been little swift or decisive action from this White House. Your thoughts?
You're absolutely right. This is a regime that has been a strategic threat to peace and stability in the region. At the end of the day, the head of the snake is in Tehran, and we have to look at the root cause of this conflict. This is a regime that's been waging a war on its own citizens for the past 4 decades, with massacres across Iran. We saw it in the protests last year. We saw it in the protests in 2019 in Zahedan massacre. And again, the words can go so far. It really needs to be backed with a firm policy on Iran. And I think we need to deal with the Iranian problem with the way that the people of Iran are calling for the change of this regime from within. And the change will come by the Iranian people. And that's how we need to really address the root cause of this problem. Because, only Iranian regime, only Tehran's Ayatollah will benefit from ongoing conflict and the war in the region because of the fact that they're trying to shield themselves and cover their inherent weakness on how they're facing an inevitable overthrow by the people of Iran.
Okay, but to that point, the strategy from the Biden administration thus far, following the Obama administration, obviously Trump was in the middle there, but it has been appeasement. In that last answer you gave, are you saying that we should actively support opposition forces in Iran to overthrow the current regime there?
Just 12 hours before this conflict broke in the Middle East, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was visiting with the leader of the Iranian opposition in Paris, Mariam Rajavi. And this is what he says. He says a serious missing factor in U.S. policy towards Iran has been a lack of political support for the Iranian people's right to overthrow this regime and the recognized and organized opposition group, which is the MEK. So I think what we need to really do is to look at those facts and understand, what does the future hold? Do we want a future of war and conflict in the region, or do we want a future of peace and stability? And again, Secretary Pompeo added that the future of U.S. policy towards Iran has to be centered around the support of this organized opposition and increasing pressure on the regime until this regime falls. There are specific steps that the U.S. administration can take to really address the root cause, as I said, in dealing with the head of the snake in Iran.
Right.
And that includes, stopping the appeasement, really choosing a very solid strategic policy on the Iranian regime so that the people of Iran are empowered to bring this regime down.
It does beg the question, Doctor, how far can Iran ultimately push its provocation of the United States before we actually do act? And does that action involve what you just discussed?
So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll keep you up to date. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below, click the bell icon, and thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Click here to see Israel calling for the United Nations chief to be terminated, or click here to see the major vote that passed and the American troops being attacked. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.